Hey there, everybody. This is Rick, and this is April 8th of 2018, and going to talk a little bit about JNL 58. As you can see, we have the boiler on the frame, and we're getting ready to do the next hydro test on it. Jonas did one up at his shop, and I mean, it didn't leak into places where we were hoping it wouldn't leak, but there were some leaks around, some studs and some other areas. So we're trying to take care of that. We're going to do the next hydro test. One other thing that that hadn't been done is that a lot of these telltales were either plugged up, or some of them were like where they were peened over and the metal completely covered the hole. So we went through and drilled every one of those out. So when we do the next hydro test, then that will check each one of these to determine if they're broke or not. Basically, when you do a hydro test, you put the water pressure in there, and that pushes against the side sheets. And if there's any cracks in any one of these stay bolts, water will seep down in it and come out the telltales. And most of the time, if a stay bolt's going to break, it'll break along the outside sheet. So you put the holes in; they go in about 1.25 inches, and they don't go all the way through, and they're not on the inside either. So we got that. That'll be checked out. We had there used to be studs here. There was a boiler lagging that was up here at one time, and there was a piece of angle when it crossed that kind of held the jacketing in place. We're not putting any of that back in, so we had to make some plugs up. So these will eventually just get cut off a little bit shorter. We've got let's see. We had a couple of new studs to put in here, and I went through and took all of these covers off and checked the flexible stay bolts. I cleaned them all up and put all that back together. So that's in decent shape as well. We have to, after do the hydro test, assuming that that comes out fine, we'll go through and sandblast the boiler and then paint it. I purchased a gallon of a Sherwin-Williams product. It's a coating. They call it a coating under insulation paint. It's dark gray, and it's designed for situations where you have insulation, and it has to have some high temperature ability, and it's also in a under insulation. So we'll put that on, and we'll take a look inside here. There's the front tube sheet. And that's bottom half's new. All the new tubes are in there. It's sitting basically where it needs to go. We don't have the bolts in yet. I test fitted it with some of the bolts. I bought a reamer. We're going to ream these out. Got some other tweaking to do to get it to fit right. There's also a bracket. This piece of 4x6 by 3/4 will get machined and drilled, and it'll go in there. And then that one there will actually slide back and forth to allow the boiler to expand as it heats up. There's another one in the back here. This one gets bolts. We slotted holes and put bolts into the deck, and that'll hold the boiler down to the rear of the locomotive. We were just working on the throttle the other day. I replaced the end of the throttle rod with something, a piece of 1-inch diameter cold rolled that'll should seal up into packing. We've got a new throttle handle we made. I just have to get it machined and put it in place and get this all done. So we'll get that done here pretty soon. And let's see what we got going on down in here. So it's taking a look down into the boiler. Yeah, you can see the new tubes down there, throttle linkage, the throttle valve itself, this here pipe here, I call it the auxiliary drive pipe. It takes steam to that there, which is the turret valve, and so it allows dry steam to go in for all the auxiliaries. So this is basically ready to put the cap back on. I got to get in there with the shop vac and suck out any of the dirt and rust that always builds up on top of the shell. And take a look up front there. Oh, here's one thing that I had to do. Because of the unconventional way this is put together, normally steam locomotive has a front that bolts to this. It doesn't have a front that is attached to the frame. So what I've done is I made this burnout up. This flange will be welded to the barrel and bolted into this. So we're basically making a flange connection there. So when you go to take the boiler off, you set it down, slide it forward, bolt that up, and then by that time all of these holes should line up. Also, you can see I noted there's a bulge right here. Basically this is puffed out for some reason, making a gap here. So when I pull the boiler off next, I'll knock this back in somehow and get this straightened out. Also, while I'm here, is a good, I guess you can kind of realize what used to go there. It's kind of in the shape of a builder's plate. So we're having 2 new builder's plates made for this that are the appropriate size, so I don't have to re-drill those holes to a smaller size, because the builder's plate that I had, the reproduction I made, is 1 inch too small. So we're making runs to the proper size. I don't want to re-drill the holes. I want the right size plates on there. Okay, and I think this is pretty much everything we have going on right now. It's actually a nice day today. This is the first good weather I've had in the last week and a half or so. It's still cold, still too cold to put water in the boiler and, you know, heat it up to the hydro. But maybe later on this week I could do it, or perhaps next week. You know, if we get a few nice days when the weather gets warm, then stuff will start happening on this much quicker. On the track work side of things, last weekend, a group of us got together and we extended the railroad. And as you can see, we're almost to the north end. We had to change this rail out on the right, put 2 new rails in here, ballasted this, and then we kind of ran out of energy about this point. This rail on the left here is actually going to be taken out. There will be a switch frog put in, and there'll be a switch that's going to come out in this direction, and there'll be a kind of a yard lead track that will extend down behind the building. There'll be another switch, there'll be a couple of tracks behind the building there, and so right in here we're going to have additional trackage. There'll be another track that'll come up the hill and go up in that direction and go up between the containers. And so that track will probably, maybe not next year, maybe the year after, we'll get that in. And then we have some additional grassy land here. Maybe we can have a tail track that runs off in this direction or something. But it's pretty much all in flux. We just kind of, as we get track materials, start putting it down. So, at any rate, that's the latest update of what's going on. Pray for warm weather, because if I get some warm weather, stuff's going to take off here. We're going to get this done pretty quick, because I've got cabin fever. I'm ready to get to this, and I'm tired of this coldness. Hey, everybody, take care, and talk to you soon.